Welcome everyone. Welcome to our fifth in a series of our ICSVE Zoom panel discussions. We're discussing various issues of terrorism and violent extremism. Today we have over 220 professionals signed up and registered at least. I think I see people coming online, so I don't know if we have everyone online just yet, and some may listen later. Many from the United States, European countries, Lebanon, Iraq, Nigeria, Kenya, Bangladesh, Kosovo, Singapore, Australia even. And welcome to all of you, and many other countries as well, if I missed your countries. And it's good to see so many friends and colleagues among you. Hi, Anita. Just watching as people are popping in. And today we're addressing the very important issue, again, of terrorist rehabilitation. And we have special guests for you, who I can say are right from the field. Oliver M. is an Austrian who traveled to Syria at age 16 to join ISIS. He came from a broken home, a lot of losses in his childhood, and he's an example of why the friends you make is so important. And he's going to tell us about some of his journey into ISIS and his experiences there. And most importantly, we're hoping that he focuses on what happened after he came back, after he was prosecuted, convicted on terrorism charges, and spent 20 months in Austrian prison. Also with us is Musa Al-Hassan Diaw, who is our partner at DRAD on a European grant. We're very proud to be working with him. Musa also spoke at our second event on terrorist rehabilitation, and I thought he did a fantastic job, but it was academic. And this time you're going to see him with a person that he mentored. And I can say after I interviewed Oliver, Oliver gave me a nice interview. Hi, Lisa, it's nice to see you, and Besser. You're gonna see something much more personal than that academic presentation. And Molly's here with us today, Molly Ellenberg, who writes a lot and researches and runs our Facebook and Instagram campaigns. And she will keep putting up on chat articles that relate to what we're doing. So if you would like to go and see the event with Musa originally and others talking about rehabilitation, she's, I think, already put that on our chat link. And we also wrote a report from that, which she'll be happy to put up for you. So hopefully you can find everything, otherwise you just go to our website later. And Musa is an Islamic scholar and the director of DRAD Austria, and I'm really looking forward to hearing him tell about his work in conjunction with Oliver. We need all of your input for the next 2 weeks. We've been running these seminars every 2 weeks, and we'd normally hold our next event in 2 weeks on August 5th. And I don't know if you all are going on summer vacation and don't want to hear a word from ICSVE. And if that's true, that's fine. But if you are interested to hear from us and you have ideas what you'd like to hear about that's in our area of expertise, please put it in chat. And we're living in COVID land. It's very bad where we are. So I don't think any of us are going on vacation. We're just going to keep working. So we're happy to keep producing events. We'd like to hear from you in the question and answer. You can put your comments throughout the presentation. Please keep in mind that we are capturing all the comments. We go through them afterwards. We try to answer whatever we can answer or point you to other resources as much as we can. I mean, you know, it's limited to an extent. And we clean out the, you know, if you make suggestions for future things like that. We will open the mic for certain people to ask questions, but we do ask, particularly in this event, that you be very supportive of our speaker. Oliver has gone through a rehabilitation process, but we need to be respectful, supportive, nurturing, kind as we ask him questions. And we are also video recording, so you can watch this link later on our website or pass it to colleagues. So I always like to make my thank yous at the beginning of these introductions. And today I'd like to thank our entire team, but particularly Zach Badorf, who is helping to run all the behind the scenes. And you are going to see, we're going to open when we get to the talking part with a video that Zach made. Zach makes, I think, 2 videos a week. And he goes through these long interviews that I've gone out and made in Iraq and Syria, scripts them, video edits them, and makes them into real works of art. And you'll see one today. And I'm very proud of Zach's work. And he works also with Sheikh Ali, who's also making videos. But I have to say, Zach is prolific, and we're very happy to have him on our team. As I said, Molly's here also, and we have other staff that are here, but I can't go through all of them. But thank you to all our staff. We're a team effort. It's not just one of us. And I also want to thank our financial sponsors, the US State Department. These are past and present. The European Union, UN Women, Facebook, private donors that don't want to be named, and the state of Qatar. We're very thankful to all of our sponsors for helping us in various ways. We're particularly grateful to Qatar as they helped us with our Breaking the ISIS Brand Counter-Narrative project. We now have 240 interviews of ISIS prisoners, returnees, and defectors, and we keep going. Amazingly, Musa helped me to make this first online interview. Usually I'm out in the field. I'm going to get lazy, staying at home in front of my computer now. We also made 16 of Al-Shabaab. And just today, we're up to 197 short video clips of ISIS defectors. And these are insiders telling their story, as you'll see in a few minutes, about what they liked about ISIS, what their vulnerabilities were, why they joined, what their actual experiences were, and then denouncing ISIS in their own words as un-Islamic, corrupt, overly brutal. And as I mentioned, these are made by Zach Baydorf, Sheikh Ali, and myself working in concert. And we subtitle these in 27 different languages. So if you go on our YouTube channel or our website, our YouTube channel is where you'll find them in all the different languages. And we're always looking for volunteers. So if anybody wants to help us to translate the short scripts into their language, we will gladly take your volunteer activity. And we're also really thankful to Facebook. Facebook has supported us in running, I think it's 150 campaigns around the world on Instagram and Facebook now. And Molly runs all of those, and she's becoming quite an expert on Instagram and Facebook, and has found all kinds of ISIS accounts on Instagram. We just published a paper that's out yesterday on Instagram, and she'll put the link to that, I hope, too. Let's see. Oh, and we also, from the last event, well, the event before the last one, published a paper on can we repatriate the ISIS children? And we're going to put that link up because I think it's an important thing that I hope you'll all look into, because it's something we really need to think about, protecting the children of ISIS. So as far as my involvement in today's topic, I've been working on issues of rehabilitation and reintegration of prisoners held under terrorist charges since I was first asked in 2006 by the US Department of Defense to come out and consult in Iraq and to help design and write what ultimately became the Detainee Rehabilitation Program to be applied to 23,000 detainees and 800 juveniles. At that time, we were calling them de-radicalization programs. We're very new. There were a few of them around the world. In Singapore, Rohan Gunaratne was starting to study what was being done around the world. And there was one in Malaysia. There was one starting in the UK in the prisons with converts. But they were very far and few between. So we kind of had to guess what we should do. And at that time, Islamic challenge was a real big part of it. So the idea of talking to a prisoner about, hey brother, I think you've got Islam wrong, and you're believing all this talk for your ideology and Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Al-Shabaab, whatever it happens to be. And you know, this hadith that you're believing and following, it's not even authentic, or you only have half of it, or you don't see this Quranic verse in context. And many people found that that was very successful. And but others have criticized that we shouldn't be engaging in any kind of thought control, that people have a right to their own religious ideas, and that ideology is not that important. It's true. For some people, ideology is not important at all. But for ISIS, it was terribly important. ISIS had a hear and obey idea that if you were in ISIS, you just listened to orders and you obeyed. to do that could end up in you getting executed, beheaded, shot in the head, whatever it happened to be. Dissent was brutally punished. Likewise, once they established their caliphate, they put everyone, all males, into Sharia training for 2 weeks. And during that Sharia training, they had pretty good Islamic scholars come in and tell people that were less educated why they should believe the Takfir ideology, and why they should adhere to what ISIS was teaching. So they were very, very big on ideology. And as a psychologist, I would say that it's true we have to respect religious freedom, even in prisons, even with people that are engaging in violence. But as a psychologist, we always try to change and remove and replace ideas that promote violence, ideas that aren't good for the person and not good for his place in society and for society around him, for his family members and for the wider circle. So why wouldn't we also challenge and try to change ideas that are promoting killing innocent people and breaking the law? So I don't see that as violating religious freedom. Likewise, in addition to Islamic Challenge, when we were putting our program together in Iraq, I told the military, look, we also need a psychosocial approach. We need psychologists or social workers. We need to come in and address the trauma. And I would say that's even more so true with all the people, the 40,000 foreign fighters that went to ISIS, all the Syrians and Iraqis that joined. They joined for many reasons, not just ideology. They joined for belonging, dignity, purpose, significance, revenge, adventure, material gains, romance, love, and all of those needs are real. I always say no one joins a terrorist group except to meet his own needs. And if you take him out of the terrorist group, you have to redirect him to get his needs met elsewhere and positively. And we know that in the past 2 events, so if you want to watch a video of it, Redwan Safdi, who spoke with Musa on rehabilitation, told us that many European ISIS members or Belgian ISIS members joined ISIS because they wanted to escape Islamophobic attitudes and were longing for an idealistic Islamic land. And when they came back, they're facing Islamophobia all over again. And that's a real issue. And that's not something that he can necessarily fix in the individual, also has to be fixed in society. But of course, he can address the individual's response to that. So we have to keep in mind that we're working on ideology when we're doing rehabilitation, in some cases, not all cases. And we're also looking at how does the person fit into society, what are his beliefs, what are his needs, what are his vulnerabilities, what are his motivations. And when he's returning home, how can we redirect him to get those needs met well? And how can we get him to integrate back into and embrace a society, especially one that might be still rejecting him? And really we have to work on our own societies as this as well. So Oliver is going to tell you pieces of his story, but I'll just start by saying that he came from a broken family and he had a deep longing, in my opinion, for meaning, purpose, and belonging in his life. When I interviewed him some weeks ago, he told me that he might have gone to a far-right group if they had approached him. For him, belonging was really the thing that got him deep into it. And I'm going to let him explain how his exposure to extremists and their ideology pulled him in, almost in a cult-like way. So as I've said, there's different approaches to different people, and we're going to hear about one today. But let's see. And I have also heard that there's criticism of rehabilitation programs, that they don't work for everyone. And I would say that's true of all therapies. And but in this case, the stakes are very high, because if a person leaves prison and still embraces violence or is allowed to come home and can't be rehabilitated, that is troubling indeed. But that's why it's so important to study this, listen to the practitioners like Musa, and learn what we can. So as I told you, Oliver had a tough childhood. He was separated from his family, was put in foster care. His brother committed suicide in prison when he was still a young kid. He lived on his own as a teenager, and he fell in with radicalized Muslims who befriended him and taught him about Islam, and then immediately facilitated his travel to Syria to join the Islamic State Caliphate. He believed that he was going to defend Muslims and to support the Ummah against Assad. He was naive and impressionable. He was 16 years old. He believed what he was taught, and he went obediently into ISIS. I'm going to let him tell the rest of that, but I would say, again, please be very kind with Oliver. He's only going to speak by audio. He doesn't want to show his face, and we need to respect that. So our second speaker, Musa El-Hassan Diao, is from Austria. Both are from Austria. He's the founder and chairman of DRAD Austria and a partner to ICSVE on our research grant. He serves as an assignee and contractual partner to the Federal Ministry of Justice in Austria to conduct de-radicalization and prevention in prisons, interventions and training concerning jihadism and political Salafism. He has served as a consultant on religious extremism for the Chancellor of the State of Brandenburg in Germany, as well as a teacher at the University of Linz, University Krems, and University Osnabrück. And he's a trainer for police officers in Germany and Austria. He teaches at the University of Vienna, and he's published a number of scientific studies, and we'll also be putting those in chat. So before we start, I don't see Zach, but Zach, you should open your video, show everybody yourself, your talented self. Zach Baedorf is going to show us, we made 3 videos from the interview with Oliver. Hi, Zach. And anyway, he's hiding again behind our seal. But he made 3 really wonderful videos from our interview with Oliver. And I think we should show one because maybe Oliver doesn't want to go too much into his past. And then we will start with the speakers.
He talked a lot about Islam, and there were nice stories what he told me about paradise, about the goal in life and why are we living. My heart felt connected. Do you want to convert to Islam? I said, yes, why not? I said the Shahada in Arabic and then in German. Now you're Muslim. One of them, he scrolled down his phone on Facebook and then he said, oh, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. They established the Caliphate in Syria. All Muslims have to go there now. Everybody shouted, Allahu Akbar and Allahu Akbar. I said to myself, I want to be a good Muslim. I want to make it with full my heart. Even if sometimes it may be hard, I want to go through that. I heard about going there to help the Ummah, the Islamic community. They are getting oppressed, killed, raped, murdered, the brothers and the sisters in Syria. And then I heard there are some other brothers. They try to defend them, to protect them, to build an Islamic state. They showed me videos of ISIS capturing big cities and shouting Allahu Akbar, and the people are celebrating. He said, you will pay everything, like the hotel, the flight, taxi, food, everything you need to pay, you can pay with that money. The next day we met, we drove to the airport, flew to Turkey. I was 16 years old. It was too much stress for me. I had 2 crying babies in my arm, and they said, okay, run, run, run. We ran to the border, and there was security fence, you know, with sharps. I was jumping over it. The babies all started crying because it was so much stress. And we were driving to the north of Syria until we arrived in Jarablus, where there was a big building. There was like, I think 100 or 200 people on that building who were shouting Allahu Akbar from everywhere. There were people there. I was like, Alhamdulillah, thank God, I'm away from the kuffar, from the disbelievers. I'm now with the Muslim community, with the brothers, with the heroes of Islam. When we arrived there, they told us, okay, we can like loot these houses, like go inside, and if we find money, guns or anything, we need to bring it to the Amir. There were pictures on the floor from a wedding. Every memories, so many things was everywhere in the houses. In Syria, you hear a warplane like maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 times a day, and then it disappears. But in Iraq, it's like that. The warplanes are 24/7 flying around your head, 24/7, and you never know if you're the target or not. He had 2 women and 4 children inside this convoy, and all of them died by that attack with the warplane. I remember he was just crying and crying. And then I asked him, bro, can I go with you back to Syria? I don't want to stay here in Iraq. Then he said, yeah, sure, come with me. We drove back to Syria. I was very happy. Then I witnessed the first dead people in war. It was in Raqqa. They cut off the head from 3 Syrian army soldiers. It was shocking for me. Yeah, I was 16 years old. It was kind of, not real for me. I turned around, and at that moment, I just hear like 1 second or less than a second, the missile coming. I was like, finished. I will die now. I remember I laid down and I just repeat the Shahada. And I said to myself, now I will die being part of ISIS. I will 100% going to Jahannam. Then they put me inside an apartment where they put other injured people. The second chance what Allah gave me to have in life. He allowed me to survive that. I want to do good now. I want to get away from that. I told ISIS I wanted to make surgery in Turkey. After 20 months, I was released because I was doing good and I worked while I was in prison. I'm happy I didn't do anything real bad, but at the same time I take responsibility that I was part of ISIS. ISIS is everything but not Islamic. ISIS destroyed Islam. ISIS killed so many Muslims. The most victims of ISIS, they are Muslim.
So I hope you liked that as much as I did. And we use those. Molly's busy putting those all over the internet, all over the world. And we use those to try to catch people looking at ISIS and maybe having another thought about it and hopefully turning away. And we study everything we do. So you can read our papers on that. But now I'd like to turn the floor over to Musa and to Oliver. And Musa, let's start with, in our June 10th meeting, you spoke about that if someone is imprisoned under terrorism charges, they could be rehabilitated, and you gave a very good presentation. Now we're talking about a specific individual. Can you tell us, what did you think of Oliver when you first met him? Did you think he was a good candidate for your type of work or for de-radicalization?
Well, I think, hello everyone, once again. Well, I think when I first met him, you need to know what happened first. First, he was used as a propaganda tool from ISIS. So he was used on social media, he was on television news, and he invited people to come to ISIS. And he was not really aware as a teenager what he was doing. And when he returned to Austria, and he will tell about that anyway, he came to prison, and as an organization in Austria, we are obliged to talk to everybody who is imprisoned because of charges for terrorism and furthermore radicalization, violent extremism, and so on. So the first time I met him, I gave him greetings, the Islamic greeting, peace be upon you. And he replied the greeting, which is the first step to establish a relationship, because just for example, today, I greeted another client, a new client, with peace be upon you. And he replied not with the same greeting, which means he does not believe that I am a Muslim. So he made takfir on me. He showed me that I'm not considered a Muslim by his ideology. And this was something different with Oliver, for example. And I was amazed about his conviction, his ideological conviction. And he was able to talk to me 2 hours long, and he was not afraid to talk about his ideological beliefs, not his religious beliefs alone, but his ideological, his political beliefs. And one of the first questions he asked me, which strikes me most when I think back on that time, at this time, was how could you stand to live in a country like Austria? And I was amazed because he was a blonde, original, so to say, Austrian, and he asked me a question like that, and I asked myself, well, he never had to face xenophobia or kinds of racism. Why was he so convinced that it's some kind of hardship to look different, maybe something like that, and to live in a country like Austria? But this is something which we could see with other clients we have. They not only learn the ideology from the different Islamist organizations and ideologies which exist, they also are able to feel, so to say, the same feelings, negative feelings to society, which they suggest people should have. And this was something which was very interesting. And this was a point where I could easily relate to him and talk to him, because he had the feeling, okay, there might be another person who really understands what I believe or what I think and what my feelings are. So this was the first meeting. I still remember the first meeting in prison in Lower Austria.
And is Oliver on now? Has he come yet? He's coming from work, so he said he might be a few minutes late. Are you on, Oliver?
He's here. He also saw the video. His name is Name.
Oh, we gave him a fake name.
I wrote it to ICV.
Okay.
ICSVE. So to make him a co-host, he's a co-host now. Yeah.
Okay. Hello.
Hello. Hey.
Oh, hello. Hello, everyone.
Why don't you talk a little bit about yourself? Tell us just a little bit of your background, and maybe tell us what you thought of Musa when you met him. But I'd also like to hear if you're willing to share with the others about your time in ISIS.
Yeah, sure. Like, that's why I'm here for. And at first, I hope everyone can hear me clearly. Yeah, so let's start about myself. I'm 22 years old today. Working. I just started to make Ausbildung. Was heißt denn Musa? Was heißt Ausbildung?
Education.
Yeah, you know, I started the education like 3 years. I need to learn for the job now. I want to make something with the IT maybe. And so I started now since 1 month. It's pretty hard and I need to learn pretty much because, yeah, I have a few tests next week. So, yeah. But however, yeah, when I was 16 years old, I lived alone. I raised up in a foster care because my parents, they divorced when I was young. And so on, me and my siblings, we went to different foster cares and I raised up there. And when I was 14 years old, I finished primary school, was very happy about that. And then when I turned 15, I found a job as an insurance broker in Vienna. And at first, everything was very nice in my life. When I was a teenager, 15 years old, I had my own apartment, a little apartment from the foster care people, because they saw that I'm very mature. They said, okay, you can have your own apartment, you earn your own money. So everything was good. But then I didn't, I felt or I thought I was happy, but now I know I wasn't, because there was something I missed in life pretty much, and I never had it. It was family, it was love. I never had that. I had money, and I had had all these stuff to buy some things, but some things so essential like family, I didn't had that, and I didn't even think about to want that. It wasn't just it wasn't clear for me that I was missing that. And when I started to do my education at this insurance broker company, I've met one old friend from primary school. You know, I've texted him, "Hey, how you doing? Have a long time I haven't heard of you." And then he said, you know, he was from Turkey. And then he said, "Okay, hey, bro, let's meet. Like, do you have time?" And then I said, "Okay, why not? I don't have anything to do at work right now, so yeah, just let's meet." And then when we met, he told me, like, we talked about everything. I talked about my new home, about my dog, about my work, about school, about everything. And when he talked about his life, he just was talking about Islam. And I was never so religious. I believed there is a God, but I wasn't going to church or anything. But I wanted to believe, and I believed that there is something higher, and so on. You know, I respected him. If you want to talk about Islam, um, I just agreed. I said, okay, so if you want to talk about that topic, then it's your choice. I'm talking about things what's important for me, and you can talk what you're talking like about things what you like. And so on. We met like the next day again, and the next week again. Every day after work, we met and we talked. And he told me about his religion, and that he started want to grow his beard. That he about paradise, how's paradise looking, and yeah, he talked. He told me many stories about Islam, and I kind of liked them. It felt nice. It made sense for me. And he told me about um, the Islamic view of the point, why are we living on Earth, and where do we go after it, and these questions I had since I was small. I had it in my mind since my brother committed suicide. I was thinking, okay, what's happening then if you die? Like, what will happen after it? Why are we here? Like, is it black, or is it, you know, there was some questions what I was in my mind, and he answered them even without, I wasn't even asking for the question. Like, I didn't ask him, but he gave me the answer to it. And yeah, then I started to ask him by myself. Like, he didn't told me about Islam. I started to ask him. And yeah, then soon after, like after in generally, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks, we met every day. And then he asked me, "Hey, bro, I just saw that you're very interested. You ask a lot about Islam. Why don't you want to convert to Islam?" And then, you know, I was at the first moment I was overwhelmed. You know, I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, I wasn't sure how to react on that. So I said, "Yeah, bro. The things you've told me, I like them, and why not? So I want to try this. I want to give it a try. Maybe there is a change in my life, a positive change." And then, as you saw in the video, and by the way, it was a very nice video. I haven't seen it before as well, so I really liked it. It's nice.
I saw that.
And yeah, so, and then I said the Shahada. I converted in the middle of the streets in Vienna. And yeah, then, like, where do you wanna what was the question again? How the first meeting was with Musa, or do you want me to just tell my story? And
You can tell
or
your story. It's great telling your story. And
or
I have a question, but I think you might get to it to yourself because you're so insightful. Um, it sounds a little bit like cult practices, how they started isolating you, make you give up your dog and your friends and so on. If you can touch on that, but just keep going. You're doing a great job.
yeah, all right. So yeah, about my dog, like the my dog, I loved my dog. I had an American Akita, that was the breed, and I really loved him because my mother, she got that dog for me and my siblings. Even though we didn't lived with her, she said, "Okay, if you come one day living with me, then that will be your dog, and you will have to keep care on it. And my sister said, no, she don't want to. My other brother, he's mental sick, so he couldn't do that too. So I said, of course, yeah, okay, mom, I will do that. I will take care of him. And I was so happy. I always talked with the people in foster care if I can meet my mom, because I wanted to see the dog, and I really love him. And when I had my own apartment, usually they don't allow the teenagers to keep dogs, because many of them, they don't take care of the animals. And but they saw that I'm very mature, so they said, yeah, sure. So you're the only one who is allowed to have that dog, because you have. Uh, we are sure you can take the responsibility for that. So I was very happy, and I fight for that, that I can keep my dog. And when I converted to Islam, soon after, like, not at the very beginning, it was maybe after a few weeks, when I got into the, like, how do I say it, into the inner circle, like, more deep into this group. And then they said, okay, brother, now you're a new Muslim, and we want to teach you now the rules in Islam. And at the beginning, when I converted to Islam, I said to myself, really want to go that way, even if sometimes I don't like it. Maybe I won't be so, like, um comfortable with the things. But I said to myself, when I converted, I want to do it good, and I want to do it 100%. And then they told me, bro, you can't keep your dog. That's haram. The angels won't visit your home, and so you need to give your dog away. And then I told them, hey, I cannot do that. That's my dog. Like, where you want me to give them? They said, yeah, we don't know, but we know that you can't keep it. And then I remember it was very hard time for me, because I didn't want my dog to have a bad future. Like, I put him on the internet for selling, but without money, like for free, because I thought I want somebody to have that dog who knows how to handle it, and not just have the most money and buy it and then doesn't take care of it. So then there many people came and said, yeah, I want to have this dog. And I met many families. They said, yeah, I have a daughter. And then, but so many people, I said, no, 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 because I didn't think that they will take care good of him. And then there was one friend of mine, he's Austrian, and I asked him, I said, hey, bro, now it's my first Ramadan. I want to be a lot of the time in the mosque. And because of that reason, I can take care of the dog good, because I want to spend many, many hours of the day in the mosque. And yeah, but the dog needs to go outside and needs to have, I can't leave him alone. So can you take care of him? And then he said, yeah, why not? Um, but in my mind, I was already sure, like I won't have that dog anymore. Like, I won't get it back. But I wasn't 100% sure about it. But I had that feeling, that that would be last time I see him. And yeah, then I started to change the mosque at first, because in Vienna we have one big beautiful mosque, and I was there with my friends, or with my so-called brothers. And then one day they said, hey, bro, let's go to another mosque. Here's too big, too many people. Let's go to a more cool. It was summertime. He said, yeah, that is more cool, and we can go there. And so we drove through Vienna, and finally we stopped in a normal neighborhood. There was just normal buildings with families, no big mosque or anything. It was just apartments. And when we go on the first floor, he just opened the door, and there were many shoes. And then we go into the living room, and there was big a carpet. I think it's carpet, on the floor where the people pray on. And he said, yeah, that's a nice mosque. Some friends of him, they are the the leaders, or I don't know how to say it, of this mosque. That's an Afghan family, like from Afghanistan. And yeah, he said he is more chilly, and you can sleep here if you want to. You can drink cold drinks if you want to, and do anything. And yeah, so that's just me, and like we are under ourselves. I don't know how to say it. Like, he said, yeah, it's just you, me, and our group. And at this moment, I didn't know what he meant with our group. But today I would say he meant just the radical people. And on the wall inside this mosque, there was a big black flag with white writings in it. And I asked him, "Hey, bro, what's that?" And he said, "Hey, bro, that's nothing special. That's just the Shahada. It means La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. That's just something normal. Every like two billion Muslims every day say that, and they're praying. So that's nothing big." And at this time, I just said, "Oh, okay." Like I didn't ask more about it. But today, of course, I know it was the ISIS flag and inside that mosque. But yeah, so on. I've been only in that mosque. I've learned Islam from people inside there, and they teach me. So I have to stop my work either, like because I'm working with insurance, and that's haram, that's forbidden. So I need to stop that. And then I was in the second problem because I thought, okay, I cannot just stop it because I fight so hard for that to get that job. So I can't just say, yeah, I stop it. But then they said, yeah, bro, you can't do it. If you want to be a good Muslim, then you have to do it. And then I was again at this point that I said to myself, I want to be a good Muslim and I want to do it good, even if I don't like it sometimes. And then I said to myself, okay, I won't stop. Like, I won't quit right now. Like, write them a letter and say I quit. I'm just going to the doctor, say I'm sick, and stay like that until maybe one day they will kick me out of the company. So I said, okay, that's a deal I can make with myself. So I won't quit by myself. I will just go to the doctor, say I'm sick, and then stay sick like forever. That was what I thought. And then when I spent more and more time in the mosque, and the people there in the Friday prayers, they said, yeah, in Syria, the Muslims, they get slaughtered, they get killed. You need to do something, and you're bad Muslims if you don't go there. And you every day you wake up here in Vienna, you go in the morning, you drink your Starbucks, and you go to Pizza Hut, and you have your food in your fridge. The people, they don't have anything. Shame on you. And how can you do that? Allah will ask you on the day of judgment, why didn't you do anything against that? Why didn't you help your brothers and sisters in need? And it there was some kind of like reaction inside my heart. I was like, it was very big words. Like I felt very bad because of living in Vienna and having such good life. And when he said, yeah, you will get asked on the day of judgment, why don't you help your brothers and sisters? They are calling for you, but you're not doing anything. And when he said that, I was like, hey, yeah, he's an old Muslim. I always thought that no one of them would lie to me because I was their brother. When I converted to Islam, we don't call our like each other friend. We call each other brother. And I really believe that the meaning of brother is not just isn't just slang, like in the streets, hey yo, bro. I really thought we would treat each other and handle and live like brothers, like a family. And so inside that mosque, there was, of course, only radical people. And then, me and some other brothers in my age, like 16, 17, 18, they said, yeah, inshallah, soon we will go there and help the Ummah and help to establish an Islamic state, not by its name and not the terrorism group, but, to establish an Islamic state. And I was like, yeah, I want to support that, of course, and then we sat inside the mosque, and one of them, as you saw in the video, like, yeah, he shouted, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And I remember we were like seven teenagers sitting in a circle on the ground. And then, yeah, the caliphate, they established an Islamic caliphate. And I was like, at the first moment, I remember I was like, hey, what the fuck is going on? Why everybody is screaming and is so happy? I didn't realize what's happening because I didn't know what an caliphate was. So I asked them, I said, hey, why are you so happy? Like, what's happening? Yeah, bro, there's an Islamic state now. Every Muslim on this planet needs to go there and live there now. Since many, many 100 years, there was no caliphate for the Muslims. Now we have to go there and support them. And I was like, oh, okay, like if you say so, I believe you, of course, even though I didn't have any idea where this so-called caliphate is or who's ruling it, or I didn't know anything. And then, you know, step by step, day by day, I've learned more about the so-called caliphate and about ISIS and about the brothers in Syria fighting against Bashar, like the Syrian president, and against the bad people, and who protect our sisters and protect the brothers. And in the mosque, like from one Friday praying to another, there was always some guys missing, you know, like I've seen their face, and then the next week their face was just, yeah, I didn't saw them anymore. And then I asked, like, hey, where is he? And then he said, like the other said, yeah, he's inshallah soon he will arrive. And I was like, where? Like, what do you mean? He said, yeah, with the brothers. And then it was like clear for me, even nobody said it. It was clear for me they meant like Syria and ISIS. And in my first Ramadan, I was sitting late night in the mosque, and then there came some good looking people came inside this apartment. Like it wasn't really a mosque. I cannot say call it mosque. It was just an apartment with carpets. And oh, sorry. And so some good looking people entered this apartment, and they just sat down and we ate together. And they asked me, then he said, like, hey bro, like we talked about my how I convert to Islam, and I told him a story. And then he said, hey bro, when do you want to go? And at the first moment I was like, okay, like, um I told him, yeah, I don't know when, like, inshallah, I want to go one day there, but I really don't know when. Like, when Allah has written it for me, then I will go. And then he said, like, okay bro, listen, if you want to, we can manage it for you to go to Syria. And of course, didn't want to say no, because I believed that the brothers there at this time, I was already like 1.5 months Muslim, so I was at this moment already radical, even though I didn't realize it by myself. So yeah, and then I said, okay, why not? Because of course I wanted to help the oppressed ones, and I was always that kind in school. Like I always tried to defend the weak ones. And so he said, okay, just manage to get your passport, and then I will give you a call, and then we will meet here. On the next day, I got my passport from this foster care. I lied to them. They gave it to me. And then I was just waiting for the call. He said, okay, come to the mosque, like come to this apartment. And when I drove there, I was very nervous, and I didn't even realize what's going on right now. Like, I remember I didn't think about what will the next weeks or maybe years will bring. I didn't have any idea about Syria. I thought maybe we will live in buildings. I was, I didn't have any idea of that exactly. And then, yeah, I was inside the mosque, and then there was he was again good looking, this guy, one friend of him, and then there was one Turkish guy from Germany. And then, we greeted each other, and then they said, okay, you both, you will go together, and yeah, you will fly together and make the journey together. And then I talked with him. He told me, yeah, he's from Germany, and he need to go very fast there because um, uh, the German police, they took his passport because they already feared that he will go to Syria. And at this time, he just took the passport of his brother because they were looking very similar. And then he said, yeah, he needs to hurry up because maybe they will block that passport too. And then these guys in the mosque, they said they gave us where you put letters inside and send it by the post, like covered.
Envelope, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And inside there was a lot of money. There was euros, Turkish lira, US dollars. Like it was mixed in fully. I think it was like 5,000 euro or 6,000 euro. And then they said, okay, here's the money. Take it for your journey. You can pay everything what you need. Just pay everything with it. And when you arrive, you give it to the people there. So, and then they just said, okay, tomorrow morning. No, it was in the evening, exactly. In the evening, we went to the airport, and inside the taxi, me and this Turkish guy, he asked me like, okay, bro, which story we want to play in Turkey? Like, do we want to play like we don't know each other, or do we want to act like we are best friends, or like what do we do? And then I said, oh, bro, I don't know. But I think it's better if we act like we know each other because I don't speak Turkish, you do. So it might be good if we are together in Turkey. And then he said, okay, then let's do it like that. Then we go to inside the airport. It was in the evening, and there was the Turkish Airlines. Where I can buy tickets was opening, and then we go there, and him and me, we in the taxi inside the taxi, we said we want to act like students who just succeed their university, and we were happy, and we want to make party. And then the guy at the like from this airline, he asked us, yeah, one way or like there and back. And then we said, no, no, we want to go one way because we want to just relax until we have no power anymore. And then maybe that's 3 weeks, maybe that's 4 weeks. And after that, we want to like take a bus and come back here. And of course, like he didn't mind the guy from the airline. So he gave us the tickets. And until today, I'm wondering why didn't he ask me about my age? Because inside my passport, I was even 16 years old. But however, I was then very, very nervous in that night. And on the next morning, me and the Turkish guy we met, we drove to the airport, flew to Istanbul at first. In Istanbul, we we took uh, we took a hotel and spent in Istanbul 5 days. We like ate like this Turkish guy. He had no idea either about ISIS in Syria because I asked him, hey bro, do you think there's Burger King in Syria or Pizza Hut or something like that, or Pepsi or Coca-Cola? And he said, hey bro, I really don't know. So let's just enjoy it here in case if there's nothing there. And then I remember we ate so much junk food, and from the morning to dawn we just ate junk food and we drank so much bullshit. And after 5 days we received a call from Austria, from that people who organized the journey for us. And then they gave us more instructions. They told us to go with the metro bus to go to um what was the name? I
I think
forget
you
the name.
were Gaziantep. But Oliver, stop for a minute because you have a long story. And tell us, what was it like when you met Musa? How did that work? And also, could you clarify, was this a matter of months or a matter of weeks that it took you to radicalize?
It was like to make me radical or to make me de-radical?
No.
What do you mean?
Well, first, to make you radical. Well, answer both
It
questions.
was like, okay, to answer that question, to get radical, like in my case, it was in weeks. It was because I felt so like comfortable with this group. I felt so connected with them that they are my brothers, they are my family. I can like I have in any case, if I have any problems, I'm sure every one of them will stay behind me and like help me in any case. So I got radical. I would say in less than a month, I got radical. I really would say that. Like,
Wow.
yeah, it may
How,
sound strange.
how about when you came back and you started working with Musa? How long did it take you to come out?
It took years actually. Like it really, like at least the very first year. I mean, like when I first met Musa, like I've heard the name Musa, so I expected a Muslim is coming to me because of the name. I already said to myself, okay, like I will give him a chance, like of course the first like I started getting de-radical by like I said to myself I want to leave ISIS. If I still would be radical, I would stay there. But that was the first step by myself to leave ISIS. And but of course, the problem with ISIS is that they use Islam for their lives, and So it was very hard for me to, because if they say, yeah, and that is in the Quran, and if you search for that parts in the Quran, you will find it. And if you don't know about how to handle with that, then yes, you will think it is very radical, and that everything is with blood and killing. So and when I first met Musa, it was just like, Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam, and then we already started. Like ISIS planted in my brain so many, how to say it, like ISIS say that they are using, like they are representing Islam, and they are using facts, like they are using parts of the Quran and parts of the life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then, and I asked Musa, I said, okay, Musa, but listen, how can you say so and so? Look and open the Quran on this and this page, and you will read it that you have to do this and this. And then Musa told me, yeah, do you know what tafsir is? And I didn't know what that is. Like a tafsir is how to say it in English? You know, to each part, to each sentence in the Quran, there is a tafsir. Like, why is it there? Some people who have studied this many years, they wrote it there. Like, what was in that time when Muhammad got that part of the Quran? What happened with the Muslims? Were they fleeing from Mecca to Medina? Was it that time when they get attacked, or when the people try to hide that they are Muslims? Like every part of the Quran, they have its own tafsir, like its own meaning, and describe why is that part there where it is, and what is the meaning of it. And then Musa teach me that new thing, like tafsir. It's now today I know tafsir is something so normal and important for us today. Um, but at this time, like when I converted to Islam, nobody told me, you have to read the tafsir. They said like, hey, you need to read the Quran how it is written, and that's it. There's no interpretation or anything else. Like you need to accept it how it's there. And then I asked Musa, yeah, but read on that and that page and this question. And I remember it was many days. Like we've met two times a week, three times a week, and I ask him often. I asked him the same topic, like we used to talk a few days before, because it was just so deep inside my brain, this ideology. And yeah, and after a year, slowly but successful, I tried to destroy these lies, to look behind it, to learn the to learn how to get behind their lies and to destroy them with their own ideology.
Can you tell
Um,
us, can you tell us a little bit about why it took a year to walk away from them? Did they scare you? Did they threaten you with hell? What made you hang on to these lies?
what do you mean exactly? Like
Well,
to
if you took them on in weeks, and I know you went through Sharia training also
Yeah.
in Syria, so you had really months of ideological indoctrination. But what made it so hard to give it up? Were you afraid that would make you not a Muslim? Were you afraid maybe you'd end up in hell if you didn't believe these things? What made you hold them for a whole year when you came back?
Yeah, it was like, to be honest, your words, they were very good. Like it was kind of that fear. Okay, if I don't believe what ISIS said, I will be in hell. And then because they are the brothers. They did something bad, but their words, they were the right. Like,
Mhm.
and it was hard for me. I said, okay, but that's very, like, I wanted to be a good Muslim, and everything what I've learned about Islam, ISIS teach me. So I didn't know any other part of Islam or another side, another point. And then I asked Musa again and again, because of being, kind of afraid of, okay, if I don't follow it, then I will end up in hell, and I will be a bad Muslim. But I'm very happy, and yeah, I wanted to say on that part, like, Alhamdulillah, I'm really, really happy about it. That I've learned the to get to not even get de-radical, like to get away from that ideology. I even learned how to destroy their lives, like with their own ideology. Like, I don't know, I can't give you an explain. Like, I can explain you something, or it's not explain. It's how to
An
say it?
example. An example. Yes.
Example, exactly. Example. Before 1 year, I have met one guy on Instagram, and I saw on his page that he's like kind of very radical, because it was the same videos, the same songs, the same words that he was like in the ideology. There's so many same things, like the way you talk with others, the way you talk with women, with it's so same. And then I've messaged him. I said, hey bro, assalamu alaikum. um do you know what kinds of things you post there every day? And then he said, like, yeah, why? And I said, yeah bro, where did you learn about Islam? Yeah, it's not your business. And do you pray? And what is your aqidah? Was the first question. um I think Oliver could ask for hours. I can even talk more, but the point is
Well,
then
they're
I have,
asking you to tell about your time in Syria, but I'm afraid that if you go into Syria, that we'll never get you back to Musa. And really, today we're focusing on the rehab. But okay, so you from what you've learned from Musa, you are even able to challenge others. Yes.
exactly, like the way how to destroy these lies. That's the most important thing to say, because it isn't easy, because they think that they are in the right side, and they think that they can use real proofs for their ideology. And it's a hard point. And even the most important point is, he needs to be like a little bit willing. Like, if there is no, I think Musa is like, from my point of view, I haven't talked to so radical people, because if he's extreme radical, I don't think he will even listen to you. I think Musa have more experience with people like that, but I don't have, like, with extreme people. I don't have so much contact. But I think it would be more hard to talk with that people, because they wouldn't even accept you maybe as a Muslim. If you say you're not with ISIS, they will tell you, okay, you're a kafir, so don't talk to me. And so that's really a hard point. And it depends on each person. You need to react like there is not one way to go against that ideology. Like, there's one right way. You need to go, like, with each person. You need to go like in um how to say it, an individual part, like, like, no one is same like another. And yeah.
Can I ask you a little bit about when I worked in Tambuka? When people took part in our program, we had to separate them. And one of the reasons we had to is the hardcore would hold Sharia court at night and break their bones if they were turning against the group. So they'd break they'd have a Sharia court. You probably saw these things in Syria, and they'd break their arms as a punishment for walking away from Al Qaeda at that time. I'm wondering, when you're in a rehab program, did you fear the other prisoners if you were doing it while you were in prison? I think some of it you did after prison. And also, how did you handle sharing about any crimes that you took part in? And please don't tell crimes that you've never told anybody, because I don't want any harm to come from you to you from talking to us. But how do you handle those things?
At first, there's nothing I won't talk about, because everything I've done, like, I stand to it. I've tried to make it, to I don't know how to say it in English good, to make it better, my past, to show, okay, I have uh a bad past and I did bad things. I've joined ISIS, yes, but at the same time, I'm here now and I want to go against that ideology and help others and youth people to who may be radical to get out of that ideology. And yeah, so for that reason, there's nothing I won't talk about. And no, I forget what your question was. Sorry.
Did you ever fear the other prisoners? Did you ever fear
Ah,
repercussions?
okay. Yeah.
And also, I know you told me in the interview that we talked about that there was issues with far right. So if you can talk about what are some of the obstacles to working with somebody like Musa and coming out of this and trying to live a normal life?
hmm At first, in prison, at the beginning, I was afraid, like, how will I get handled? And, in prison, how can I get treated, in prison? And but I cannot explain which fear it was. If I'm more afraid of the maybe Islamist people or if from the far right people, because for both of them, I'm a traitor. I think it's traitor in English.
Yeah.
Because for the far right, me as an Austrian citizen, as an Austrian, um, I've I've betrayed my country in their point of view for being Muslim and for going to Syria. And for this extreme radical people, I betrayed Islam and the Islamic community in Syria for leaving them and lied to them. And yeah, so I was afraid of both of them. But I realized there was one radical guy in prison. He was like, "Yeah, I know who you are, and you go there." And we're just talking from window to window. I couldn't see his face or anything. I just heard his voice, and he was screaming after my name. And he said, "Yeah, I know who you are, and that you can hear me. And yeah, you ran away from Syria, and that was at the very beginning when I came back from Syria. And of course, I was afraid, like, how will the people react to me? Like, will they try to kill me maybe because I ran away from them, or how they will react?" But soon after, like a few months after, I came into another prison to make minimum my sentence, and there it was like kind of strange, but the people kind of saw me as, like, some of them, not everyone, saw me as kind of hero. Yeah, it sounds very strange, but I was in a youth prison, and the people, like, I felt like one guy, he said like, hey, bro, are you Oliver? And I was like, yeah, why? Yeah, bro, tell me, how was it? And wow. And there wasn't, he like, that guy what I'm talking about especially, he wasn't even so, like, religious. He didn't pray, he had piercings, tattoo. You wouldn't think that he's a religious guy. He's like, "Oh, bro, wow, that's cool, tell me about that, and tell me." So yeah, that was like the point. I was afraid of, like, okay, wow, they are so, like, I tell them my story and they are still not worried about it. And that made me at the beginning very, like, a little bit afraid. Yeah. And at the beginning, I didn't even know how to warn them, because when I told the people my story, some people, they told me it might seem like I want to try to make them radical, but that wasn't the point. I just told them the story how it was, with the brutal things, the horrible things I have seen, and to the things what I have been through, and with my injury by myself and all these things, and they were still not, like, scared. And yeah, just after that year when I was radical and I was really out of that ideology, then I started to make the same what Musa did with me, like, to talk and to go behind that ideology and to destroy it from inside. And that
Can
is what I've.
I ask you another question, Oliver? We just
Yes, sir.
got Sanam Mohammed joining us from Syria, and there's a lot of people that really suffered under ISIS in Syria.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
do you handle this whole issue of forgiving yourself and making amends? How do you handle that? And was that a part of the the work with Musa?
You know, the point how I give, like, how I judge myself for I have been there. That's an point I cannot explain it easily because it's a big point. There was a time I blamed myself so much for joining them, for not thinking more about like what I'm doing, for just closing my eyes and do everything what they've told me. But at the same time, like, there is, if I would always judge myself, that would be a never ending story. What I have done, I regret it, and I try to make it good, like, to give something back to the community, to the society. And even that what I'm doing right now, that's being that like that's part of of my regret, of do something good.
No, it's
and
wonderful. It's wonderful. Thank you.
and yeah, so
I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. I just wondered if you would address that. Let's
there
let,
was a time I felt guilty, but
of course.
now I've learned that that's not that would be a never ending story. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, there's many people that come out of ISIS that don't feel guilty and that
Mm.
never have your awakening. Let's let Musa jump in if he wants to say anything. Musa, you have all the questions in front of you, and maybe if there's anything you want to say, or if you just want Oliver to keep talking, it's up to you.
No, I think he used his time very well, and I think he should continue talking.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to make sure you get credit for this, Musa, because you've done a wonderful job. And I think it was not only scholarship, but also a true warmth and love that replaced these terrible friends that Oliver had. Oliver, how have you replaced these people? I mean, you stayed Muslim, but how have you replaced these people that came into your life and made you suddenly feel you had a
I
family?
replaced them, like, by today I have learned what Islam is. I have learned how radicalization is. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Hello?
We hear you. We hear you.
Hello?
Oh no. We hear you, Oliver. Just keep
Oh,
talking.
okay. Yeah, no, I can hear.
Okay.
Um, where I
About
forget again.
replacing this family of
Exactly, about replacement.
extremists. Mhm.
Yeah. So I have learned about Islam. At the same time, I have learned about how to um I don't know how to say it.
Say it in German and Musa can translate for you.
Äh, ich stehe gerade voll auf der Leitung. Mir ist gerade, I'm out of my. I forget what I wanted to say. Oh my god, wait, we're talking about replacement. Exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, okay. Now I know. So yeah, at the beginning, I was like, when I came out of prison, I wasn't even sure, like, if I want to be Muslim, because of course that what I have been through, they claimed that happened because, or like, I thought, okay, it happened because I decided to convert to Islam. So I said, okay, then Islam is the problem. And then after 1 month, I was like, I really thought about a lot about religion, about Islam, and at this time I already learned another Islam from Musa, like the other view, the peaceful view. But at the same time I was like, okay, but yeah, ISIS is still kind of representing Islam, I thought. And then I've asked myself, okay, what do I want? And there wasn't just like one answer. Like, I didn't answer by myself, I want to be Muslim. But then I just felt like I want to be Muslim. It was nice feeling for me to be Muslim, and that new Islam I've learned from Musa was a completely different one of the one I've been in, like, while I was in that ideology. And then I started, like, then there on I converted kind of new to Islam, and I've moved to another city. I have met new friends, and that friends, at the beginning it was very hard for me to how to tell them who I am. Can I ever tell them who I am? But then it felt like it was just the right situation. I've met that one guy in the new city. We were walking around and talked about, football, about everything, and he was Muslim too. Um, and then I thought, like, okay, just just tell him. Like, I've met this guy by a taxi driver, to be honest. There was one taxi driver. I always used to call him if I drove somewhere, and he said, "Hey, bro, there's one guy. You would, I think you would like each other." And then, finally I've met him, and then, I talked with him. I told him who I am and what I've been through, and then he said, like, "Hey, bro, it is a heavy story, but hey, you're a cool guy, so I don't mind. So that's your past, and that's your past, and but now I've met you. We are the whole day. We are doing stuff. We are having fun. It's all good. Like, I didn't expect that you will tell me something like that. But yeah, that's your past. So that's not a big deal for me." And then I was happy. And
That's good. Oliver, can you tell us, a lot of people have posted questions and a couple of them have asked, what was the role of women? Did you see women when you were there in ISIS?
yeah,
Because some people say that they, stayed home and cooked and cleaned and raised the kids, and others accuse them of having Yazidi slaves, living in stolen properties, and even being suicide bombers, snipers, all kinds of things. What did you see about the women?
like, yeah, I've seen women, but I've seen their eyes and nothing more.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, I have seen them, but I cannot tell really about women. Like, I had nothing to do with them, but yeah, they were on the streets. They were doing their stuff. Like, so yeah, that's it. Like, there was women, like in every other city in Europe too.
Can you talk about when you first got into ISIS? Because a lot of people told me, of these 240 that I talked to, the ones that were in Syria, some of them said they really loved it the first year in Raqqa. That was just great. Although you went straight into Iraq. And are you aware that being sent into Iraq was basically a death sentence?
Again,
When ISIS sent people to Iraq, it was usually, like, you're disposable. We can send you to die, because a lot of people died in Iraq. But I'm wondering what you liked and what was awful inside ISIS. What you
I
really
said,
enjoyed and what was just terrible.
I enjoyed the food. To be honest, I like the Arabic kitchen. It's very good. And the citizens of Raqqa, for example, they were so lovely and kind people there. There was These are the things I really miss, and I would like to see them again, and to be there again for that. Like, they are such warm people,
Sure.
and the food is so incredibly good. And of course, the things I don't like, that would be a big list. So I don't know where to start and where to stop. Like, from the ISIS people, to the killings, to the bombings, from the warplanes to the, like, there's endless. That's an endless list.
What would you say? Do you think that you are different in your experience going into ISIS as a convert versus if you had been a Muslim all your life? And maybe Musa, you can comment on that too. Is this a really different case? Um, I mean, really, you didn't know Islam, that it was introduced to you, so they could tell you anything, right? Hello? Musa, do you want to comment on that?
Yes, it depends. Of course, every case is an individual case. People are very different by age, by education, by religious education, but also by secular education, so to say. But the ideology stays the same. There are just different ways how to present the ideology to outsiders, or how you can challenge it. So that might be the difference. I can maybe give some examples. I don't know if it really matters, but one core teaching is, of course, we are the good ones, the other ones are the bad ones. This means all the other Muslims who have a different belief system, so to say, or do not follow the ideology of this or that group, are considered to be non-Muslims and the inner enemies, which should be fought. And of course, the non-Muslims themselves are considered to be the enemies, should be fought. And one of the questions people ask who believe in ISIS, Al-Qaeda, whatever, and Hizb ut-Tahrir, it doesn't matter. They ask why should we not hate the non-believers? And it's sometimes simple. It was the same Oliver asked about the relationship between Muslims and non-Muslims, Muslims and Christians, for example. We talked about the old well-known story of the king of Ethiopia, for example, a Christian king who granted asylum for the Muslims, or the permission for a Muslim man to marry Christian and Jewish women, so it doesn't make sense to hate them. At the same time, it is you are permitted to marry them, to make them part of your family. Also questions about rejection of democracy, which is considered to be necessary to believe in one God. Without rejection of democracy, you don't believe in one God, for example. You can give them examples of history, Austrian-Hungarian history, for example, the Muslim Bosniaks who became part of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and they asked for a fatwa, if it's allowed, if it's halal, so to say, to accept a Christian ruler, and the fatwa given was, yes, you are allowed to accept a Christian ruler as long he does not abolish possibilities to pray 5 times a day, and furthermore, or simple questions like why it is not Islamic to destroy antique and historical sites like ISIS did, for example, because they considered it to be shirk. And the questions is always in form of questions, not like, preaching to a client. It's also in form of questions, and asking why did not the 3 first generations, for example, destroy these antique and historical sites? Why is it ISIS who comes up 1,400 years later and claim it's necessary? So it must be a different version of Islam. And so on and so on. There are many examples which we could give when it comes to talking to clients, and it's always based on their individual character, individual imagination, individual education, their background, family background, and so on, and so on.
Thank you, Musa. Oliver, if you look back to being 16 years old, we're making these videos, and we're going to use your videos with you to put them out through Austria. But do you think if you had seen something like that, someone else's story, saying, wait a minute, or what could have saved you from these people that surrounded you and isolated you and eventually sent you off with, sounds like $5,000 or euros to Syria with a mission in mind? What could have prevented that? Do you have any idea?
That's a hard question, like hard to answer, because this what if questions, they are always like that's hard questions. What if that? What if that? But maybe like what could have helped was at this time, 2014, the work against radical Islam wasn't so intense and so good like today. I think many countries have learned from the past, but at this time, 2014, it wasn't just the people wasn't prepared, and maybe if there would be like people like I am today, 2014 who can like talk from like a real view, like not just, yeah, I have studied this and that, like people who have really been through that things and who have seen all the things with their own eyes, who can tell me what's really happening there. If there would been be have some like if there would have been someone like that in my past, like 2014, and would have told me like, hey, listen, these and these things, I think maybe that could have helped, like if there would be at this time, yeah, it wasn't just so good. The people wasn't prepared for so many youth radical uh, people, you know.
Sure, sure. How about when you think about now? You told me that it's hard to get a job because you don't have I think in Europe you get a certificate from the police that you don't have a criminal history. What things do you still need now that would help you to really re-enter society? Or do you have everything you need?
Today I kind of like, for myself, I can't ever be radical uh, again, like in no way, because I know how it works. I can see it in the first, even if there's someone who's just saying, hey bro, there is something, then I would say, okay, turn around and we'll just leave, because I know how this kind of radicalization works. And I think it's pretty much the same if there's, is it far right radicalization or Islamic radicalization. I don't think that that's what is matters, because at the end of the day, they all try to make the people believe that they are the real ones and they are the good ones. And yeah, so today for myself, I don't need anything to prevent me that will happen again, because it's impossible that will happen to me again in that way
And
or
you,
in any other way.
okay. We have a question from someone that's asking about what was your experience meeting all the different nationalities? I've always been struck when I go in and interview in the SDF prisons that it's a United Nations. There's every country represented. Uh, what was your experience with these different nationalities?
In Syria, or what?
Yes.
Yeah, what was my experience? Like there was just many different, like what have many different, there was from every country there were people in Syria, from China to Australia, from America to like from the USA to Mexico, like from every kind of from even from Canada, from many African countries, Asian, European. Yeah, it was big mix of many people and many different cultures. And but at the end of the day, I do believe that there is a big part, or not, okay, I can't say maybe big part, but there is uh or maybe a big part, I don't know, but people who really went there with the same intention like I had, to do good, to defend our brothers and sisters. I really do believe that, because I've seen the people there. There, that wasn't just monsters like you have seen in the ISIS videos. These people are really like monsters. But the other people, like what I have been with in Syria, there was, for example, one guy. His name is Firas. He's dead now. Firas, for example, he was, for other people's, he was like extreme like I was at this time. But when I talked with him, like when I see him in private, not on social media or anything else, when I was with him in private, he was such a nice guy. And it may sound strange now, but he even fight for women rights. It may sound strange, so that's a long story, but ISIS told him, if you do one more time so, then we will um, hurt you, because he said he will take care of a woman who got bullied in the woman house. She got bullied there from a Russian group, and then she ran away. And he said, okay, listen, I don't want you to sleep on the street. I have a big house. You can live with me. I can sleep in another room. Don't worry, but I don't want you to get bullied. And then I just said, no, you can't do that. That's not your wife. And then he said, like, hey, listen, if she's in my house, I can do whatever I want, and she can sleep here. And then I just told, yeah, if you do one more time, then yeah, you would get hurt. But there was people there. I really do believe that they are not bad inside their heart and they are just monsters. Like they were stupid and wrong like me. They I'm sure they believe the same like me, but at the end of the day, maybe some of them realized it's wrong, maybe some of them not. I'm happy that I've realized it. And yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about before you went? This question's from Tasneem, and I don't know if you're reading the chat, but there's all kinds of insults going on in chat, and we will
No, I don't.
figure out how to block people. But sorry, I don't know
Well,
how to block people.
I'm reading right now. Give me one
Yeah,
second.
they're not insults to you. They're just insults about religion, and it's stupid. And I'm sorry
Okay.
to see people behaving this way. But we have a question from Tasneem, and I'm asking all the questions because of the insults instead of letting people talk. Sorry. But could you talk a little bit about what you heard in the press when you were still in Austria about Islamic State? Because some people, like a Dutch woman, told me, well, I heard terrible things about ISIS, but I didn't believe it because the press is Islamophobic. Another woman in Ireland told me, well, the brothers in ISIS and my mentor told me none of it was true about what was happening in Raqqa. Of course, it was all true. But how did you handle what you heard in the news compared to what you were hearing at the mosque?
At first there were things what I've heard in the news, and I said, okay, that's fake news.
Okay.
I don't believe that. They just try to go against Islam, and that's why they talk so bad. And when I was there, and I have seen, okay, that's not just fake news. Then I asked, okay, why are these people like killed? Why is their head there? And then they just said, yeah, bro, they have done the same things to your sister, the same things to your brother. They just deserve that. They were soldiers. They tried to kill our ummah. And at this time, I said, okay, if they try to do so to my brothers and sisters, then they deserve what they got. And so I thought, okay, that would be okay. Like that is kind of war,
Mm-hmm.
the one.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. We're getting to the end of our event, and Oliver, I could listen to you all day long, and I think a lot of the people here could, but I don't want you to get exhausted. And I think it's really great you've done this work with Musa. I think it's really great you're now reaching out to other people and have joined DRAD. And everything that I can do, and I think a lot of people here agree with me, what we can do to support you, we're really happy to do it. Welcome back to the world of people that are partly insane but not totally insane as ISIS. We're glad you're back with us, and we wish you everything good in life. Thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah, thank you all for giving me the chance to talk here, and to you especially, thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for listening to everyone.
We all wish you the best. And Musa, I don't know if you want to say anything in closing?
No, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I just read all the questions. Maybe we need a meeting concerning how to deconstruct as one yes, to put it, how to deconstruct the lies of ISIS and other Islamist groups.
It would be wonderful, Musa. It would be wonderful. So we'll have Musa back, and Oliver, you are welcome anytime as well. I think everyone really enjoyed listening to you and wishes it was a longer time, but I think we will end on time. And thank you again, and really God's blessings in your life. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right. Wish you a nice evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.